A dealer I know outside Wichita has a compact tractor sitting on his lot right now. It has 40 horsepower. It has a loader attached. The price sticker is still taped to the windshield. It has been sitting there since last fall. He paid for that tractor. He is still financing it. Every month it sits there, it costs him money. If you have held off buying new because your old tractor still runs fine, you made the right call. Something happened back in 2020 that has nothing to do with your old tractor. Dealers everywhere are still paying for it. Nobody worried about too much tractor inventory back in 2020. The problem was the opposite. Homeowners were stuck at home. They had new acreage plans and stimulus money. They were buying compact tractors faster than dealers could restock them. Dealers ordered heavy going into 2021. They expected that demand to keep climbing, but it did not. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, two-wheel drive tractor sales were down 19.3% in September of 2024 compared to the year before. They were down 13.6% for the year overall. That is not a small dip. That is a lot full of unsold tractors ordered when everyone thought the boom would last forever. It did not last. The dealers who ordered the most are feeling it worst right now. Every homeowner with fresh acreage and a stimulus check wanted a compact tractor in the barn. Dealers scrambled to fill orders fast enough. That number was the warning sign nobody in this business wanted to see coming. Here is what most buyers never think about. A dealer does not pay cash for the tractors on his lot. He finances them, the same way you would finance a truck. Usually, this runs through the manufacturer's own lending arm. John Deere runs this through John Deere Financial. Kubota runs it through Kubota Credit Corporation. Mahindra has its own arm too, called Mahindra Finance. This is called floor plan financing. It works a lot like a store credit card with a promotional rate. You buy the couch, you pay it off before the promotional window closes, and it costs you nothing extra. The dealer gets that same kind of interest-free window when a new tractor lands on his lot. That window usually runs between 1 month and 12 months. Sell it inside that window, and it costs him nothing extra either. Miss that window, and the interest meter starts running on a machine that is just sitting there, getting rained on. Think about how that works on a couch you financed. Pay it off during the promotional period, and you never see a dime of interest. Carry a balance past that date, and the real rate kicks in on whatever you still owe. A dealer is not carrying one couch. He is carrying an entire showroom full of them. Every single unit has its own clock, quietly ticking down toward the day it starts, costing him real money. Now picture that dealer carrying not one tractor, but 30 or 40 of them. Each one is worth $10,000 to $50,000 or more. In July of 2023, the Federal Reserve raised the federal funds rate to a range topping out at 5.5%. That was the highest it had been in more than 2 decades. The Fed held it there for 14 straight months before the first cut finally came in September of 2024. Back in 2020, when rates sat near zero, a slow-selling tractor barely cost a dealer anything to hold on to through a season. By late 2023, that exact same tractor was bleeding real money every single month it sat unsold on the lot. Same mistake, same overstocked inventory, but carrying it cost dramatically more the second time around. Nobody explained any of this to you at the counter, but it is exactly why your dealer has suddenly gotten so eager to make a deal. 3,500 jobs. That is roughly how many positions John Deere has cut since October of 2023 through the fall of 2025. Those cuts spread across plants in Waterloo, Davenport, Dubuque, and Moline. In 2024 alone, the company cut 2,167 of those jobs in a single year. These are not small towns quietly absorbing a handful of layoffs. These are entire communities built around Deere plants, watching production lines shrink year after year, while the company frames it as simply adjusting to demand. Families who counted on that paycheck every single week are now watching the plant floor around them get quieter with each round of cuts. There is no sign the trend is finished playing out. It has been a slow, steady bleed rather than one single dramatic headline. That is exactly why most buyers never noticed it happening until now. Kubota has spent the better part of 2 years telling investors in careful corporate language that tractor sales are declining and that the company is deliberately pulling back on inventory. Behind that phrasing sits a rough set of numbers. North American revenue for the company fell 18.4% in the first half of 2025 alone. By year's end, operating profit in its farm and industrial machinery business had dropped 21.6%, down to $1.6 billion, confirming the decline the company itself had forecast months earlier. This is not a company hiding from the downturn. It is one managing its way through a genuinely difficult stretch, quarter after quarter. Mahindra has been just as blunt. It ties its own recovery directly to what the Federal Reserve does next. The company has said openly that a real rebound in North American sales depends largely on future interest rate cuts. That tells you everything about how tightly this entire industry is chained to borrowing costs. Its North American tractor volumes dropped 13% across 2024 and into 2025. That is the same story playing out again through the same financing squeeze described a moment ago. 3 of the biggest names in the business, all bleeding from the same wound. So who has been picking up what they left behind? While Deere, Kubota, and Mahindra were cutting jobs and pulling back inventory, one competitor was doing the exact opposite. Kubota, made by the Korean company Daedong, grew its share of the North American sub-100 horsepower tractor market to 9.2% by the middle of 2025. That is up more than a full point from the year before. That might sound modest, but in a shrinking market, gaining share while everyone else loses it is a real statement. Most buyers walk onto a lot assuming every brand is fighting the same uphill battle right now. That is simply not true. Knowing which ones are actually growing changes how you should think about parts availability, dealer support, and resale value 5 or 10 years down the road. Coyote opened a new West Coast warehouse in Tumwater, Washington, to move product faster and get closer to buyers on that side of the country. In the spring of 2025, the company brought on new sales leadership with one clear job: expand the dealer network as fast as possible. That network has now grown past 500 dealers across the country, and it is still adding more every quarter, while the big 3 names were retreating. A challenger brand was quietly filling the exact gap they left behind. It picked up buyers who might have gone with a familiar green or orange badge just a few years earlier without a second thought. That is the real story most buyers never hear. It is not that the whole compact tractor market collapsed. The market shifted, and the brands willing to invest while everyone else pulled back are the ones now sitting across the counter from more first-time buyers than ever. If you are actually shopping right now, the 20-year compact tractor buying guide walks through exactly how to pick a tractor that will actually hold up for 20 years, from frame and hydraulics down to resale value before you ever set foot on a dealer lot. The link is in the video description. 2 stories show you where the real investment in this industry is actually going right now. John Deere is moving its mid-frame skid steer and compact track loader production out of Dubuque, Iowa, and into a brand new facility in Ramos, Mexico. That move wraps up by the end of 2026. On top of that, the company is putting $55 million into a separate new plant in Nuevo Leon, Mexico. That plant is built specifically to produce mini track loaders and mini wheel loaders. That is real manufacturing work leaving American soil for good, headed south of the border. Kubota, meanwhile, has spent years building up its manufacturing and engineering footprint in Gainesville, Georgia, backed by an $85 million research and design center completed back in 2019. One company is quietly moving production out of the country while calling it efficiency. The other has spent real money building up its footprint right here in the United States instead. That difference matters more than most buyers stop to consider when deciding which badge on the hood to actually trust. It is worth remembering the next time a dealer leans on heritage and legacy in the sales pitch. The badge does not always tell you where the machine underneath it was actually built. Now, to be fair, not every recall is a scandal. Not every problem belongs to the brand that ends up getting blamed for it. But this next one is worth knowing about because it belongs specifically to Deere. It involves tractors a lot of small acreage owners actually bought for their own property. In September of 2024, John Deere recalled roughly 147,900 units in the United States, plus another 16,800 in Canada. The recall covered the 1023E, 1025R, and 2025R compact utility tractors. The issue was a brake linkage that could fail without warning. The company received 4 reports of that actually happening, including 1 hospitalization and 2 other injuries. This recall became one of the most read stories in the dealer trade press throughout all of 2025. That tells you just how many of these smaller tractors are sitting in driveways and pole barns across the country right now. If you own one of these 3 models, it is worth checking whether the repair has already been done on yours. Here is the part that might genuinely surprise you. Despite everything you just heard, most dealers are not going out of business. According to the 2026 Rural Lifestyle Dealer Business Trends and Outlook report, 75.6% of dealers reported being profitable in 2025. That is down from 84.9% the year before. So the squeeze is real, and it has not fully let up yet. But 3 out of 4 dealers are still turning a genuine profit through all of this. More encouraging, 81.3% reported their revenues came in flat or better compared to 2024, actually beating their own expectations heading into the year. Looking ahead, about 55% of dealers expect unit sales on tractors under 40 horsepower to rise at least 2% through 2026. Just over 37% expect roughly the same for tractors in the 40 to 100 horsepower range. This is not a dying industry falling apart behind the scenes. It is one that got squeezed hard, adjusted where it had to, and is slowly starting to find its footing again heading into next year. Interest rates have actually slipped down dealers' worry list this year. They have been replaced at the top by the rising cost of new equipment itself. Fewer dealers are bracing for outright losses than you might expect after everything that has happened since the rate hikes began. The worst of the squeeze looks like it happened already, and the dealers who survived it are still standing behind their counters. So if you are still running the tractor you bought years ago, the one that was paid off long before any of this ever started, you already won this round without even realizing it. You never had to worry about a floor plan you never carried in the first place. Some dealer down the road absorbed that cost out of his own pocket, one interest payment at a time, while his lot sat full of machines nobody wanted, at prices he was eventually forced to drop just to move them off the property. That old tractor sitting in your barn right now has done more for your wallet than you probably ever gave it credit for over the years. This was never really a story about tractors getting worse or dealers getting careless with their inventory. It comes down to three things stacked directly on top of each other. First, a pandemic buying spree that never should have been treated as the new normal going forward. Second, a central bank that raised borrowing costs to the highest level in over 2 decades and held them there far longer than anyone expected. Third, a Korean competitor that grew while the biggest names in the business were busy cutting jobs and quietly closing plants. The independent dealer standing behind the counter absorbed the difference between all three of those forces at once. Somehow, against the odds, he is still standing. Let us know in the comments below. Would that Korean badge actually make the short list for your next tractor purchase?